It's happening again. Talking about what is happening in the chess community. Okay, Alireza is back himself. There's no Igaro coming out to help. So let's see how it goes.
In the grand final, currently it's advantage Magnus Carlsen, the world #1, who took down Alireza Firouzja 3-1 in the first set. But that scoreline no longer matters. As long as Firouzja wins the second set, doesn't matter if it's by a tiniest of margin in Armageddon or an absolute 3-0 blowout. We will equal the scores 1-1. But it is all on Firouzja now. Can he turn this around?
He needs to turn it around. He needs to be better, needs to be quicker. He suffered his first defeat of the whole competition just in this last set, Firouzja, and it was uncharacteristic. Magnus, of course, at his best, hard to beat, but Tanya, you've got to expect more from the youngster.
Absolutely. In set 1, Alireza was outplayed and outpaced. He needs to flip the script. I think there are a lot of takeaways from all the games that we just saw. Some of the big ones for me were that Alireza has to make sure that he pulls Magnus into complicated battles, into those muddy waters, and he needs to make sure he does that with a lot of time on the clock. The Falcon has to fly higher. He has to strike faster. You either rise now or it's all over.
Coming closer, bro. Can Alireza even come back to this? Alright, if Alireza does, I would be so much happy for Alireza. Game 1, because he just completely...
In reality, Carlsen has been on the receiving end in a good way of both of those traits. So it felt like Firouzja didn't have much to work with. That needs to change.
Needs to change, and something that has changed is Alireza Firouzja's first move. The first set, he was playing e4 against Magnus Carlsen. Now, with white starting this set with those white pieces, Firouzja's gone back to something that served him well earlier in the event. He's been playing d4, and a quick capture of a pawn, that black d-pawn not running away anytime soon. And Magnus, look at this, he played h6 last move, he plays h5 now. He's definitely prepared. No chance this would have been mouse slip. No chance this would have been sudden, spur-of-the-moment inspiration. This is Magnus Carlsen going for Firouzja's king.
Very early on. The king coming for his opponent's king in this one, making his intentions clear. He's not thinking about development right now, but at some point, Magnus needs to get his pieces out. If he has to attack successfully in this game, h5 forces Alireza to go into a tank, and that's a small victory for Magnus already. He's seen that work out to his favor. He knows that Alireza in that break between set 1 and set 2 had prepared the queen's pawn opening, and this is where he counter-surprises him.
This is actually very, very impressive to start us off. Like you said, Tanya, queen's pawn opening. Okay, we're switching it up for set 2, and instantaneously, Carlsen sends Alireza thinking very, very early on. He's now got a 30-second lead, but that's not the point. This was supposed to be a surprise that got Firouzja extra time on the clock. That hasn't happened. At least, not yet.
Yeah, Magnus there reacting to a question mark move by returning the pawn that he was up. Yes, he could have gone a pawn up, Magnus, by trading, but that would have accelerated the opponent's development. That he's happy to kind of transpose from what looked like it was about to be a fiery position with the black h-pawn going forward. Instead, he's playing more positionally here. Almost symmetrical in the center. Magnus, clearly the better prepared of these two players.
So what's the plan B now for Firouzja? Suddenly, he's worried about, well, maybe not right now, but he's worried about h4. He's worried about the kingside pawn storm, trying to figure out what Magnus's plan is. He doesn't want to spend too long doing it, though. So what is he doing in the meantime? How are we going to be improving the pieces? Is there a plan B?
It's a really tough question to answer, and I think Alireza struggles with it as well, as he continues to think, you know, Magnus, especially when you know, is prepared in this line. My guess would be that coming into this match, Magnus had certain ideas for the king's pawn opening, and he'd also seen the queen's pawn opening. And this is something that was part of his repertoire for this grand final. And Firouzja is very aware of that, because h5 cannot be over-the-board inspiration. This is a move you've seen at home.
I've seen it actually published in some magazines, books, maybe some other resources this this funny idea of the black h-pawn moving twice, as if he forgot Magnus for a moment that pawns can move 2 squares on their first go. Ultimately, Firouzja, he's repeated mistake that a lot of us make. He's played the same opening multiple times in the same tournament, and Magnus, of course, he will have studied what Firouzja's been doing on previous days. Ultimately, it's just a level position, but that's a success for whoever starts with black.
And you know, moves like this, after playing h6, you go h5, it's sort of like a one
Why did this stream end?
one trick
Who do
pony.
you want
You use
to
it for
win?
one game because you
this
know
stream-
that your
Alright.
colleagues, your competition
Yeah,
would.
the stream just ended because of the internet connection. I'm telling you, I didn't even know the stream has ended. I was talking only to find out that the stream has ended. So I have to just come back. I mean, fix it again, and here we are. All right, I really want Firouzja to win this round. That would be very happy for me, and precisely because if Firouzja is able to win, somehow it equalized. And I was hearing in the background like Hikaru is back. Hikaru is on Team Falcon. The team that Alireza Firouzja is. I mean, if Alireza could allow Hikaru to play for him, which I don't think he will be allowed in the tournament, but if it's possible, yeah, probably we might see something different, but let's see. The queen might be trapped. Alright, I love this sequence. Let's see. So,
Avoided by Alireza Firouzja, and that leaves us with a very level-looking middle game. Again, everything he wants to try, Alireza, all these sharp lines seem to be working in Magnus's favor. And just to point out, the move that he gained by Magnus pushing h6 then h5 is a pawn push to b3. And actually, that pawn on b3 gets in the way of the white queen, loosens the dark squares. That is why Magnus's strategy has been so effective.
That's such a key point because the extra move that you have is actually not only one that doesn't give you any advantages, but might have actually given your opponent something to play for. And this is sort of the hard part in chess, right? When you know your opponent in the opening has wasted a move, how do you play something that long run works in your favor? And it looks like this time Alireza did not find the right way.
You give yourself that sort of pressure, don't you? Psychologically, you think, well, there is no way this is h6. I feel like it's my duty here to punish that, to show you why that's inaccurate, to show you why that leads to an advantage for me. And it just adds additional pressure to make that right move. And if you're unable to do that, then what looked like a silly move suddenly looks pretty sensible.
I want to point out one more thing, speaking about the dynamics, as you pointed out, John, in this position, white would love to play h4 and stop that black pawn from moving forward. But the bishop complexes are such that black's the one who can take advantage of the light square weakness that would be the g4 point. But meanwhile, white does not have the dark squared bishop. So after h4, you don't have a bishop to plonk on g5.
Right.
But the g4 square beautifully there for Magnus would have been left behind. So now, basically, for the rest of the game, or at least until white plays h4, Magnus is always threatening to push that pawn even further ahead.
I want to point out as well, look at the clock. Nothing has changed in terms of time usage from the first set. Firouzja down 2.5 minutes. Might not sound like much, but we've been here before. We've seen what happened.
Firouzja maybe thought rather than change the time management, change the opening and see if that leads as a natural to the time management quality being a little less. Unfortunately, doesn't look like that's the case. He started with the queen's pawn opening, and situation on the clock is now starting to get as bad as it was in set number 1. So he is trying something different. Let's give him credit where it's due, but so far at least doesn't seem to be working.
We've been talking about tennis, how the kind of format of the finals, it's in sets. Having white is like having the serve in tennis. That's what they used to say. You can choose to go e-pawn, d-pawn. Ultimately, though, your opponent is expecting you to mix up those serves occasionally, to go different directions, and he chose to serve with a different hand. He went d4 this time, but Magnus was waiting. Magnus was ready. Now, okay, it's all about the c-file, but it looks solid enough for black.
But so far, speaking of tennis, I mean, the play from Alireza throughout the match feels like it's from baseline. He needs to somewhere come and do those volleys if he's got to have a chance against Magnus. But this position, I don't even see a way for a break to appear on the board.
break. If anything, it's going to be all rooks off on the c-file. And Farouche has done nothing wrong in terms of kind of objective moves. Probably just an equal position, but that's not what he wants with the white pieces.
And speaking of breaks, if anyone's got that, it's got to be Magnus, right? The e5 pawn moving forward at some point, the h pawn moving ahead at some point. So Magnus also holding the keys to opening up this position.
Agreed. All the options seem to be favoring white here. Not necessarily meaning that they, lead to victory instantaneously or anything like that, but certainly the options in terms of what strategic direction the game is going to go in. The initiative very firmly in Magnus's favor for now. And that's not a problem if there was time on the clock. The problem is Farouche is 3 minutes down as well. 7 versus 4, you know what? Totally fine. But if this gets into another 4 versus 1 scenario, that can very quickly become a blunder.
Half minutes. It's not a blunder from Farouche, but I'm going to say a small miss from him. He underestimated Magnus's knight going to the edge of the board here. Really surprised he didn't just bring the other white rook to the c-file. Now there's going to be tension, and look at this. He's forced to retreat due to the tension. The white knight was pinned, and after this trade, black is going to be the one conquering the open lines. Look at this. The white knight hit Farouche. He's reeling, retreating, forced to react to these threats. Magnus is on fire, I've got to say.
He really is. I mean, it's just incredible what he's done in this match so far. He's not only dominating on the board, he's winning the psychological warfare here against Alireza. Just the way he played that set 1. The 2 times, Alireza is very aware that Magnus could have even tried to flag him in those 2 games that eventually ended in a draw. Magnus didn't even want to do that. He finished the set with a checkmate on the board.
This looks slow and steady and inevitable coming in from Magnus. Queen and the rook battery on the C line. There's not very much at all. In fact, there's pretty much nothing Alireza can do to prevent infiltration from the queen on the next move, if that's what Magnus wants. And what's frustrating is Magnus has done this on a fraction of the time that Alireza has taken, and that's really what hurts the most, because speed was supposed to be Alireza's greatest weapon.
With 24 moves in, Magnus has not spent more than 21 seconds on a single move. Alireza, meanwhile, about half a dozen moves he spent around the 1 minute mark. And okay, he's kicked the black knight back, but that's not going to help at all. White knight sidelined. Pace of this game, the black queen coming in soon, it all spells danger.
It's been so strange. Just the positions that we've gotten in the match so far, Alireza really never get going. In any of the boards, in any of the games that we've seen, not getting his kind of play, not getting his kind of positions where he really, really excels at. Hikaru managed to do that. Again, from the back foot. When he played that King's Indian defense, he just went all out. Somehow, Alireza hasn't been able to get that on the board for himself.
That looked similar to what Magnus is doing in this game, because
That's so
Hikaru
good
was
about
able
this
to
tournament
engineer a
already.
situation
He's so
where he
Magnus.
built a small
That's
advantage
not in
and
the
kept
Hikaru
building on it,
player.
kept building on it,
Scary.
shut down Magnus's counterplay. You could tell in that game yesterday, Magnus was very uncomfortable when that situation happened. We need Farouche to be able to engineer the same thing, but he hasn't been able to.
This another question mark move appears. The bar slides, saying that Magnus has an over 3-point advantage. That's because Alireza's moved up a pawn, weakening his king. It might be time for the black queen to swoop in. So many targets in mind there. The black rook as well. Hopefully, he would be hoping that it lands on c4. The black bishop there on d3 instead, hitting a white rook. Not the best from Magnus, but good enough to maintain the advantage. I think he's going for the queen trade here, Tanya. He's going to be hoping that he can pick off the white b-pawn in the near future. The only thing Magnus has to be careful of is counter play here from queen to e7 incoming.
And that would combine the queen and the knight attack on the f7 pawn. So definitely something that you want to think about. The bar says Magnus is doing great, but you see a move like queen e7 as your opponent's threat. And you start thinking about, maybe I need to be a little careful, need to go on the defense here. But the good news for Magnus is, even if that was to happen, the bishop can always slide back. Go back to g6 and keep everything protected. So Magnus, will he try the queen trade? He doesn't. He does, in fact, go on that defense, making sure that Alireza does not get queen e7. The knight retreats, the queen defends.
Bit odd, actually, Magnus's bishop move, allowing this white knight to jump back with gain of time. And yeah, Alireza at least has corrected one of his bad pieces to some extent, but still hard to find a plan for white. If you push any further pawns on the king side, you're only weakening yourself. Not ready. It does feel like Magnus, he's clearly playing on the clock. He's not even trying to come in and create any complications. He's just biding his time.
It would love to be so slide the rook across to c1, actually create some sort of opposition on c file.
This doesn't
Can't do that
feel
because of the bishop on g6, unfortunately, and as a result, not only is the position a little bit binding, but the most obvious idea is also being bound. So we're being forced to think of alternatives now. The bishop comes in thinking about coming into d3 to try and get that plan in motion, but black immediately slides in with the queen to c2, not allowing enough time.
He's also threatening his own rook to swoop onto that c3 square with further ideas and tactics of attacking the knight, which has just moved back to that square. Magnus's queen looking beautiful, the rook on the open line. Just compare Magnus's pieces to Alireza's forces here. You know, all of them, most of them on the first rank, the other two left on the board are on different sides of the board. Not combining, no play to be found. Magnus has basically denied Alireza any activity in this entire match. You know, David, you said Magnus on fire. It's usually fire Ruja, and that's not been the case. Liquid Carlsen's extinguished all flames in this one.
I mean, he absolutely loves Alireza, that is. Big, dynamic positions where there's lots and lots of attacking, but Magnus is just shutting him down so hard at every opportunity that he hasn't got the opportunity, really, to give us that flair that we know he's capable of, and he's struggling in those conditions.
Now, there's something up with Alireza's clock handling as well. Maybe it's due to the type of position, maybe it's just due to the opponent, and there we go, Magnus making his move. G5 looks super aggressive. It's actually designed to just paralyze, immobilize the white knight on the edge of the board. We're down to bullet territory, 40 seconds, the red appearing for Alireza Firouzja. He needs to move. This game is still in its infancy. This is still the early middle game. He's trying to blow open the center now. He's got to change the pace, Alireza, but barring a blunder, surely not enough time.
And that's the thing, when you change the pace, you need more time on the clock to handle all those critical decisions that come out of that gear shift. But Alireza now 36 seconds on the clock. Bullet territory, you know, synonym for that is Alireza Firouzja. But he's so slow on every single move.
And Magnus has blundered. Magnus has not realized that the white rook can step up one square, kicking the black queen away from the defense of its knight. Magnus, we're going to see a reaction from him. He's going to have to switch gears and try to flag. He's just lost a piece.
Whoa. Magnus Carlsen, will he go on to flagging mode now? That one big inaccuracy. We've seen him not play on the clock earlier in this match. Is this when it all changes?
Wow, carelessness from the world number one. He knew that he was getting closer and closer to his goal of claiming the first game of this set too. But now the black queen, kicked away off the diagonal, will not be able to defend its knight. The tactics go on. Magnus is going to have to calculate his way out of this.
And it's pretty complex, right? Because black has the option of pinning that bishop on the first rank, trying to target the other knight at the edge of the board. Magnus, he's gone in to find that resource mode right now. There are still tactics that exist, but Magnus, is he finding them?
That is a huge shift. Magnus now, he's going to have to show us something that he hasn't been reluctant to do so far in this match. He has to flag Firouzja. He's going to have to try and create some tricks here, Magnus.
It's Alireza with 24 seconds, but it's Magnus Carlsen who's panicking right now.
Look at Magnus's face. He is shocked. He's given up his queen, the world number one. Here we go. It's rook and knight for a queen. Alireza Firouzja is winning, but does he have enough time on the clock? This is the best position he's had all match, all day. The black king's so open as well. It's a race against the clock, 21 seconds. Can he convert?
That is the big question. Will it be enough time? He needs to combine that queen and bishop. First, he completely disconnects black's rook, and Alireza with a shake of his head, just wishing he had that extra minute on the clock.
Magnus Carlsen is busted. The black rook is about to be hit. The white queen is coming in. There we go. Black's pieces can barely move. The queenside pawns are gone, but 16 seconds. Magnus is going to have to be dirty about this.
Alireza has to win this. He has to convert this game at all costs right now. 16 seconds. This is where his bullet skills need to come in. Magnus trying to survive.
Black rook can barely move. There we go. The first pawn drops. The black rook coming in with a check. Counterplay, some hope for Magnus Carlsen, but Firouzja's done everything right. He has activated God mode, Alireza Firouzja. He's pushing the B pawn forward for glory. It's creating counterplay for Magnus Carlsen in the meantime. 11 seconds, Tanya. Is it going to be enough?
That is the big question. Alireza Firouzja can get maximum number of moves when he's down on the seconds, better than anyone else in the world, and that's what he needs to do right now. Will he convert it into a full point? He gives it up. Another queen appears on the board.
And Magnus blunders his rook.
He's about to resign.
Wow, Alireza Firouzja striking back. He's got two queens. 7 seconds should be more than enough. Magnus Carlsen gives up.
Yes!
What a turnaround.
An opening.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Alireza on the God mode, bro. I was already losing up for Alireza. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh my God. What? I'm so happy, bro. I'm so no. I'm really happy for Alireza. Like, he came up. He's on this game. He's on this game. The game is not over.
The coaster of the game, and you could see it on Magnus Carlsen. He was furious with himself. This was his game. Alireza down to 25 seconds when Magnus made that blunder. But what a convert there by the Falcons.
Bro, I'm telling you,
Magnus said it before the match himself. Nerves, they're going to play a part. That was Magnus Carlsen reluctant to get involved in a time scramble and showing why Firouzja there. He was just so fast, so accurate. You never really doubted Firouzja once he got that winning advantage, despite the clock time. Super impressive, so resourceful. And there we see the final blunder from Magnus, dropping his rogue, and the reaction on his face.
Just draw in all of the games. So if he could draw all of his games, so
only getting to the winning position with 24 seconds left to go.
Like, he's going to, they're going to be going
you
to
know what? This is the kind of magic that we know.
If this go in Alireza favor, like Alireza is able to draw all other games, they are going to be going to Armageddon. So yeah, that is when everything is going to be decided. So let's continue enjoying the show, bro. It's a lovely comeback from Alireza Firouzja, bro. What a game.
To begin with, we might be staring down the barrel of a very different result right now. In fact, that would have been quite likely.
It came down to that one move blunder, but how quick, how fast, how Alireza sharp was Firouzja in that moment to capitalize on it and never gave Magnus a chance to come back into the game. This is what he does best. With seconds on the clock, he still has the tactical ability of God.
That's what Alireza was saying before the match started as well. It's going to be tough. Magnus will give you very few chances. It is critical that when those chances come by, you have to instantly take them. And this might be the first time we saw him definitively grab one of those with both hands.
Forget Falcon. He's going to feel like a phoenix right now, the way he rose from the ashes in that game, Alireza. Still a shake of the head, but he knows he's back with a vengeance. Game on.
And this is the confidence you need, right? When you're playing against Magnus, everything that happened in set one is now behind Alireza Firouzja. With that big win, this is going to be some match now. He's got to be feeling good about his chances, but he needs to keep up the pace on the clock. Because had it not been for that one move blunder, this would have been a completely different storyline.
Now Magnus reacts to that shock, to that disappointment by playing a very ambitious opening. Magnus with White has played into one of the main lines of the semi-Slav defense. White has Fianchettoed his bishop, but it's a gambit. The gambit accepted by Alireza Firouzja, who's captured on c4 and hopes to maintain that pawn phalanx there. He's up a pawn, he develops his bishop. Magnus needs to play very energetically to compensate.
But I like this because these are the kind of positions that get super complicated in the middle game, you know, where Black does have the extra pawn and White plays for a big center.
First set 3-1 for Magnus Carlsen. Like, it doesn't matter. Like that match end in Black in Magnus Carlsen favor. So it doesn't matter if he has 3 against 1. If Alireza played 2-3 or 3-2, as long as he has slight advantage in this game, like, the game is back to equal. That's how it works. Man, this game is. Bro, he's
going to regret allowing Black this beautiful protected pass pawn formation.
Bro, this is crazy.
Alireza, he smells weakness and he's going for it here.
It's very rare that we see a pass pawn on the third rank for Black this early on in a game. Obviously, we're still quite early on here, and I'm sure positions like this have been studied a fair bit before. We're very much in the opening, but that's got to be really uncomfortable.
Especially after what just happened, you know, and Magnus does not want to take this to a third set.
No.
He wants to get this done this time, but for that, he needs to find a chance to get a win in. Only 3 more games remain for Alireza to neutralize this match, to equalize the match and force that tiebreaker set. And what he's done so far, you know, it shows that he doesn't want to play KG anymore. The confidence he needed, it's in the bag.
That's interesting. With the confidence there, it's a weird situation where 3 draws actually
Bro,
gets Alireza the
Alireza,
second
I
set.
don't need you
But
to play
I don't
slow
think
chess. I don't
anybody
need you to
here
play
or on the
slow
analyst
chess.
desk or in the audience or anywhere are
I don't
betting
need
that
you to play
Alireza
slow
wants to play
chess.
safe and get 3 safe draws. That is not going to happen, right? That's just not his brand of chess. It's not where he excels, and he wants to show us more of what just got him that victory.
Exactly. He has fully woken up Alireza, and I love this change in strategy from him. Rather than just try to defend stoically, solidly as black and allow Magnus to try and grind him down, he's gone for one of the most ambitious variations you can play against these Queen's Pawn openings. Magnus now pausing. It feels like both players are freestyling somewhat, just judging by the clock. This is the first time Alireza's been up on time at the 12 move mark in any game so far. That must be fantastic news for him.
Absolutely. And Alireza, he still has an extra pawn on the board, and that's a big pawn on c3. So for Magnus, he has to find a way to prove this opening idea that he went with. It's still a long way to go. The play often revolves around the squares the white knights have, the b6 point, the c5 point. At some moment, Magnus might try to win a bishop pair in the position, to prove that compensation, and that bishop on g2. Make sure that the knight on b8 does not come out in the game, at least for some time.
Alireza pausing. The recapture with the pawn is maybe high risk, but it's also very, very high reward in this scenario. To take back with your bishop would get you closer to castling, but your passed pawn on c3 will probably drop in the near future. So I'm expecting this move is at least the move he wants to play from Faruja.
It's also his style. But the fact that he's slowed down, this is what we've been seeing this whole match, just his time management. It almost feels a player whose biggest forte is his intuition, his instincts. Somehow he's not being able to trust them. Pawn takes pawn is what Alireza plays every single day. Whoa, he goes for another approach, gives up the bishop pair himself.
Oh, maybe he's scared of any pins on the A file. He wanted to open up the black rook. Last move given an exclamation point, but the eval bar rises in Magnus's favor. Did feel a bit rushed. Normally you don't want to clarify the structure, especially giving white some nice central control here until the last minute. But there we go, and he's allowed Magnus forward.
And I love that move. Not only does it get the knight to b6 in positions, but it blocks the black bishop on f8. And now the white queen about to threaten that pawn on b4 via queen to b3, and that would be big trouble for black.
We have to pull up a board here because Alireza Faruja is going to spend a bit of time thinking, but he might have to find a genius move here to hold the balance. In this position, given a bit of time, whites are going to bring the queen out and we see the bar rise. The queen's coming to b3 to pick off some pawns, but Alireza could have played bishop takes c5.
Wow.
The white knight is pinned, cannot recapture, and if the pawn takes back, then the queens would disappear from the board. And at the very end of the variation, b3, look at the pin on the a file, look at the menacing pawns. This would provide full compensation to black, but wow, not spotted. We can't blame him for that. Superhuman that would have been, but now he might be finding himself in trouble instead. The black pawns drop off on the queen side, Tanya. Huge advantage for Magnus Carlsen.
This is a beautiful position. If you're not defending that b4 pawn, and let's point out, the knight can't jump to a6 because guess what? That beautiful, stunning bishop on g2, the Catalan bishop, the Queen's Gambit declined bishop, call it what you want, is eyeing that c6 pawn. It's the most valuable piece here for Magnus. You can't let it activate there. If not knight a6, the only other move is queen to a5. But that also comes under fire once white moves the bishop away, the knight jumps forward. What is your queen even doing on a5? I don't think there's a way to defend this pawn.
Could grab white's pawn in the center, I guess, but the black queen will be kicked around the board, and that doesn't feel healthy, especially with the black king still marooned in the center. No happy decisions here for Alireza. He's not a pawn grabber by nature. He won't want to get his queen out and lose more time there before getting castled, but he might have to. That's the only way.
Saw yourself by saying actually grabbing that pawn undermines part of what is making white's position wrong at the moment, and rather than seeing it as programming, you see it as something positionally to build on, right?
Another big moment for Alireza. Is he going to take the pawn? He does, and now we're expecting Magnus to bring out his bishop to attack the black queen. Black queen will want to retreat, and now after taking back the pawn, watch out, the white queen coming into b7, as well as the black pawn on c3 dropping off. Black cannot even castle, or maybe he can, because the queen to b7 looks like a double attack, and this is looking into the future, but we're headed in this direction, at least until this last move from Faruja. It's hotting up this game now. Magnus senses his moment.
Queen to g4, and is white going to continue chasing that queen away, which defends that b4 pawn? Magnus, if he wins b4, he's not going to stop there. There's queen b7, the c3 pawn falls as well. And if you're able to neutralize the material deficit in the position as white with the two bishops, the bishop on g2 unchallenged
have
for the
you
rest of the
noticed
game,
the hat
it's advantage
with
Carlsen.
Absolutely.
being
I mean,
shown
look, that
below?
that was the point that was made
Hat
out of the
rate?
opening
Magnus
here by
has 100
Firouzja. I've got these
plus
monstrous
hat
pawns
rate.
that are passed now on
Really?
b4 and c3,
Really?
and that's going to be how I force you to give up an advantage so that you can mop up those pawns. I need something in exchange for that. And right now, though,
Yeah, I think this game, like, come on. I think Alireza was going with his pawn all of a sudden. All right, he give up the pawn. But there's the pawn. Why didn't he just take the pawn? Okay, knight takes it, and it opens up the rocks. So I think he should bring this other knight, bring the knight to the what? The castle. So what now? Yeah, if Alireza is able to hold for a draw, I think it's just enough. Please. Yeah, if he's able to hold for a draw, it's enough. Draw is enough for Alireza here. So, all right, knight takes defending the weak pawn. Rook takes rooks. Bro, just take the rooks, or what do you do? Yeah, it's a mistake. Knight take is a mistake. How is knight takes a mistake? That is just a mistake. So,
Magnus emerges with a very small
what?
advantage.
to be fair, when you compare the pieces, you go, actually, now that Firouzja's played knight bd7, the knights are on reasonable squares. The bishop is at least pointing towards a c5 pawn, which is a bit of a menace, but it's doing something useful. You can see the knight potentially coming into d5, but take a look at the bishop here from Magnus. The piece activity just feels a little bit stronger for white, and it feels like white has some more options. Not necessarily a winning position or anything like that, but it feels easier to play.
And Alireza pauses before moving the rook in the corner that's attacked. Does ultimately shift it and attack the white queen. Gonna run away with that piece now. But the big question is whether black can take the c5 pawn next. He restores the material balance, makes sure that it's only pawns on one flank, and Firouzja should be out of danger.
Well, there's also another pawn hanging on the board, the h3 one. Let's not forget about that. He's threatening c5, queen takes pawn as well, with some ideas of the knight jumping forward, maybe putting some pressure on Magnus's king. With this move, rook b8, first asking a question. To Magnus's queen, where does he run?
At the clock, I'm thinking this, again, is the best situation Firouzja's been in
Yeah.
a while, and Magnus looks frustrated.
I think that's a great point. We're past move 20 now. I feel like so
I
far
like
in
your
this match,
commentary,
there have been several
and
instances
the
where
video.
Firouzja's been down by 2 or 3 minutes on the clock
Okay.
by this point.
You said you like my commentary than the video, bro. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try and comment as much as possible. But what I'm saying here is that when the queen move, queen can take the pawn on h3, then the knight can jump into the square, and it's just going to be a menace for Magnus Carlsen king. But the light square bishop can always drop back anyway. So after the queen move, I guess Alireza is just going to, yeah, it's time to just pick up this pawn. Alireza just pick up the pawn. The knight is there's a knight defending the rooks, and the other knight defending the knight. So that is not a problem. You should just pick up the pawn. You're down on time. Yeah, the best is just to pick up. Okay, like if he takes the pawn, yeah, he can take the pawn. Yeah, right? He can take the pawn. Alireza just do what you do best. Come out of this. Even if it's a draw, bro, I will pretty much be happy with a draw from Alireza here. Because, yeah, a draw, like, if he can draw the remaining 3 games, it's just going to be GG. And it's a win for this run for Alireza Firouzja, and it's just going to... Yeah, they're going to be going to the Armageddon, or how do you call it? So let's
Like
see.
you guys said, with the queen on h5, that's going to be the recapture after bishop takes pawn. So possible, but something about that move Magnus does not like. He's perhaps also thinking about queen capturing the pawn on h3, the other one that's available,
What
or
you follow
maybe a
after
rook
pawn
slide
picks
over,
up?
hitting that bishop.
Knight
A lot
hop
of
into
options,
G.
but he's
Knight
taking his
hop
time,
into
Alireza
G4,
is.
like
Mentioned Magnus blundering on
after
the
queen takes pawn, knight hop into G4, like threatening something on H5, knight and queen combination with trying to checkmate black's king, white king, but evaluation bar in favor of white. Yeah, in favor of white because white has extra pawn. Like the only reason why the evaluation bar is on white's favor is because of the extra pawn that or yeah, the pass pawn that he has here. Like 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 5. So immediately the pawn is taken. It's just going to, bro, what is this? 9 takes. Okay, it's not a blunder. Bro, why didn't he just take the pawn here? Yeah, is it not a mistake?
That line. There's something more to this position. He's trying to think because every piece is loose right now. That knight on d7 defends the rook on d8. It can come under fire immediately with the move rook to d1.
And that sets a nasty trap. If the white rook does shift across to d1, black cannot play bishop takes bishop, as the white queen would be sacrificing itself the b8 square just to break through onto the back rank with some checkmates. I don't know if Magnus Carlsen has spotted that. He's looking a bit deeper into the position, but let's check it out. The best move, rook to d1, attacking the black knight, undermining the bishop. Alireza Firouzja cannot play bishop takes bishop right now because queen takes rook would end in a checkmate after the queen is recaptured. Look at this, a back ranker. Black king trapped behind its own pawns. Alireza Firouzja cannot trade bishops right now. It's a key moment. He needs to find another solution, but he's down to 2 minutes. He does block the queen's path. That was the only way to survive.
So tricky there by Magnus, setting up that big trap. Because if you're black, you really want to liquidate pieces here. You want to get those trades in, but not giving him the chance. e5 hitting the queen. Magnus with an inaccuracy there. Queen's off the board. And now Alireza can trade on e3, destroying Magnus's pawn formation.
And this should be a drawn endgame. It's going to be bishop takes bishop. White's going to take the knight.
Just take
Black
the bishop.
knight,
Why
but
is
rook and knight versus rook and bishop. Pawns are only on one flank of the...
like if Alireza or Alireza is just by my side right now, I would just go closer to him and knock him on his head. Bro, play fast. Take something. Put the bishop up, hit the knight. What is that? Come on. Try to trade everything. Just make a draw. All you need in this game is just a
That is
draw.
a massive thing for him. I mean, it's almost like a slight victory here. He gets white in the next turn. Alireza, he pushes the G pawn, tying down black's king side. 3 pawns there. Bishop moves backwards. The knight's about to move forward. He first brings the king into the game.
Magnus grabbing space there with that pawn move to g5 to begin
Why?
with. Grinding, gets the
Alireza
pestle and mortar out. We've seen
defending
Magnus do this
passively
time and time again. But will he be able to convert something against what appears to be a little bit of a rejuvenated Firouzja? We've seen him pull out some unbelievable magic tricks in the last game, showing us some of his fantastic skill. We've also seen flashes of him breaking out of, shall we say, the time-draining funk that he's been in, but there were still flashes of that where he did use a minute or two in the late middle game. But he is getting better at it, and you can feel the confidence starting to grow.
There we
Bro,
go. It's
you're
bullet
down.
time. The clock turns red for Firouzja. He needs to act quick. The white king is stepping up the board. This is what Magnus Carlsen calls anti-young player chess. He's killed the chance of white losing this game now. It's a race against the clock. Firouzja can't clarify the board, though. He has no active plans as white steps forward.
And that's because of that 1 pawn on g5. It clamps down on those 3 pawns on f7, g7, h7. Any move by either of these pawns would lend black a huge weakness to deal with. Magnus, meanwhile, can jump around the board with his
Yeah,
knight.
exactly.
Now about to target the e5
put the
pawn,
bishop there.
defended by the bishop, but the knight comes further into the game, hitting the rook and the black f7 pawn, knight d6 in the air.
Knight is coming in. The white rook lands on the 7th rank first, followed by its knight. Black is in full defensive mode. All backs to the wall here.
No move.
Firouzja needs to break out. He's got 40 seconds. You cannot sit still and do nothing anymore. Magnus will just bide time and go for you. And there we go. He does trade pawns. Here he needs to start trading rooks. Firouzja, he needs to get everything off the board within his last 30 seconds. We're going to see another race against the clock, but a totally different scenario this time, where it's going to be
Trade the
difficult to
rooks.
force Magnus Carlsen to blunder.
And this time, Magnus is going for Firouzja's clock. He's down in this set. He has to maximize his chances. He's not going to shy away from flagging him anymore in this match.
Magnus needs to make some quick moves. He has a 2-minute time advantage. It's going to be so difficult for Firouzja here. The Black Rook was almost trapped, creating some luft there, some escape squares. Black King shuffling. Magnus is pushing pawns. Black Rook forced back. Still so unpleasant here, Tanya. The White Knight dominates the Bishop.
And no more pawns can be traded. And look at that. Magnus Carlsen, he wins a pawn. The first big advantage. He's converted his strategic points into a material advantage.
It's a win.
Firouzja creating some counterplay, hitting the White Knight, which has to be defended now by the King or the Rook. One pawn up, but it's not about the clock, about the pawns here. It's about the clock. Keep an eye on the red on your screens. Alireza Firouzja needs that fire, needs the speed.
He does, but will that even be enough with 11 seconds? And Magnus just playing this on endlessly, gives a check, drives the Black King away. Magnus Carlsen winning now. He's trapped the Bishop, and Alireza knows he resigns. Magnus Carlsen back at set 2.
Resignation. There we go with 8 seconds left to go. The speed was incredible. The number of moves that were played in the last 30 seconds of that game, formidable, but not enough to stop the tide that is world number 1, Magnus Carlsen. He fights back, and set 2 is now level at 1 apiece.
I'm telling you, Alireza is playing too
woke
slow
up in the
this game. I
second
don't like
half of the
way he's
previous game, but he also poked the bear. He woke up his opponent, Magnus Carlsen, who did activate hustle mode, went into what looked like a level endgame, but that proved knights are better than bishops when it's just pawns on one side of the board. Fantastic endgame technique from the best endgame player of all time. But heartbreak for Firouzja, who has to do it all over again.
In this case, he poked the goat, is what I'm going to say. With this endgame play that he has, this is why Magnus Carlsen, just so incredibly good, finds those little opportunities, trapping Firouzja's Bishop there at the edge of the board, dominating by his center knight there. And Magnus Carlsen now at 1-1. It's match on. Firouzja needs to do it all over again.
Set 2 here. Magnus Carlsen up 1-0, and the second set is all square at 1-all.
Yeah, I think, bro, I don't think I like the way Alireza is taking this game. We are hoping that you just make draw in all of the games. You already had a 1 win. Like, it's okay for this round. Just make a draw, bro. Just go there. Make a draw, bro. Make a draw. All you need to do is just, come on. What is wrong with this guy? Like, you have all of the advantage. Just pick up a pawn on, pick up the pawn on 8-5, move the other knight in, try to checkmate, and you just let loose. Alireza, come on. Come on, Alireza. Come on, Alireza. All right, yeah, he's a better chess player than me. Even if I play him 100 times, I'm going to lose 200 times anyway. But I need you to come up against Magnus. Yeah, that's all I need you to do. I need you to do this. Yeah, I think this is the time for the 5-minute breaks though. So let's see what is going to happen. I'm not happy, bro. I'm not happy. Like it's as if only maybe Caruana and Hikaru Nakamura can take down Magnus, bro. This guy is just on top of the chain. Nobody's dropping Magnus for how many years now? Like more than a decade. Like this Magnus is just taking everybody limb by limb, ripping them apart as if he's doing nothing. Probably he's just going to resign. He's just going to resign chess because nobody is able to take him down. Come on.
Hello, here's the biggest fan of Magnus Carlsen. Oh, I am the biggest fan of the Magnus Carlsen.
I am the biggest fan of Magnus Carlsen.
Magnus بيفوز إن شاء الله. Magnus is gonna win 100%.
Oh god. Oh god, this guy is saxing me. If I'm not the biggest fans of Magnus Carlsen, bro, we all love Magnus Carlsen. I mean, everyone love who is winning, but I mean, he's just doing it for so long right now. We need somebody, someone should be able to match up. I thought Hikaru was going to match up against Magnus Carlsen yesterday. He actually did. Hikaru actually win some games against Magnus, but yeah, Magnus, come on. At some point, it's just going to go in through your hair like, all right, I'm Magnus. Bro, I'm playing Magnus. I'm playing Magnus. I'm playing Magnus. I'm playing the word I'm playing Magnus hit Hikaru yesterday and he's hitting Alireza Felicia again here today. Maybe I have to step up. I have to step up against Magnus. Like, I mean, you guys need to stay in my back. Let me lift you. Let me conquer Magnus that cannot be conquered. Let me show you how to beat Magnus. If I cannot beat you, I can beat. I mean, Magnus has never beat me. Like, Magnus has never beat me in the chess history. Like, he wouldn't. He will never beat me. Probably will never play, but he will never beat me. Magnus Carlsen has never touched me in the chess history, and he won't, because oh my god. All right. Yeah, apparently he's afraid of keys. Magnus Carlsen is scared of Skid. Skid beats Magnus, but I mean, the likes of Alireza, Hikaru, Fabiano, all of those, they are just scared of him. I don't know why they are scared of him, but Magnus Carlsen is scared of us too. Like, he has somebody here in Africa, in Nigeria, who he has never defeated, and I hope one day I face him. I'm just surely going to teach him how good I could be. I'm still unbeaten by Magnus. I'm definitely unbeaten by Magnus Carlsen. He hasn't touched me. He won't. He hasn't. He won't be able to touch me.
It's all square in the second set here in the grand finals of chess at the Esports World Cup. Firouzja came out swinging and with 24 seconds left on his clock, managed to convert a winning position in game number one. The world number one, though, does not rest on his laurels pretty much ever, because he immediately struck back with a victory, leading to a 1-all tie with 2 games remaining in this set.
And Carlsen keeping the speed, keeping the clock advantage, a massive part of his match strategy so far. It's paid off. Barring one blunder at the beginning of set 2, Carlsen has been in great form. Firouzja, though, it's level terms. He needs to forget set 1. He needs to forget that last game where he ended up losing on board. And
all right, Avichas, if you could do that, you receive a lot of congratulations from me. Bro, yeah, that day will soon come. Relax, bro. That day will soon come where I have to face off against Magnus. So, what color what color is Magnus Carlsen playing this? I guess Magnus Carlsen is playing with the white pieces again. So, Yeah, let's see how it goes. I just hope Alireza Frisha is able to do something here this time. I really hope so.
Another controversial opinion. The one game that Alireza won was Magnus's to give away. That
Right.
was a one-move blunder that happened. Even in that one, Alireza really down on the clock. He finished it flawlessly. You know, regardless of that, it was incredible to watch the speed and the precision that he brought onto that one. But again, it came down to that one-move blunder. Turn the flip around. Every game that Magnus has won or has drawn, he has been on that driver's seat. He's been on the front foot, putting the pressure from the start until the end.
That is true. And taking inspiration from previous games is a key trait for any chess player. You need to learn from your mistakes. I'm going to say it's that move 20 to 30, move 20 to maybe even 35 period, where he tanks too much. He needs to trust his instincts there. Even if it is chaos, even if he is worse, Alireza Firouzja has shown he can fight back when it becomes tactical. So he just needs to start from a level footing against Magnus.
But I like this opening that we've got because it has the makings of something tactical in the middle game. And that's what Alireza needs to do. You know, get his kind of positions.
Yep.
Pull Magnus into those muddy waters, into those complications where it becomes
Alireza,
difficult
please move
to
fast.
respond, especially if the clock goes low. Now, Alireza, he first starts on the left side, then improves his piece on the right side. I'm also expecting him to play in the center with e4 coming soon enough.
While Magnus Carlsen with black, he's not willing to rest on his laurels and just kind of consolidate after winning the previous game. This is very ambitious from both sides. White has a slightly further advanced pawn on d5, but black has the connect 4 with a beautiful pawn chain from e7 to b4. The black knight coming out to the edge of the board. Wonder what the strategies are. It's a bit of an odd kind of piece configuration, I'm going to say, from Alireza. Rarely in this type of structure do you see a double fianchetto from the white bishops.
And we've got some rather interesting pawns already on a5 and d5 without additional central support just yet, although e4 can be played. It's really quite aggressive in terms of space grabbing out of the opening here from white. It's interesting.
Space monster Alireza Firouzja pushing those pawns forward, but with great space comes great responsibility.
I'm sure that's what the quote was.
That's exactly the quote. I believe Spider-Man dropped that line, but yeah, you need to back up pawn pushers by controlling space with your pieces. But now he's behind in development, needs to get his king castled, needs to develop his queenside knight. Early days here, but down on time already.
And that's the thing, right? This is not that critical moment where you spend 2 minutes. This has been the surprise of the match so far, just Alireza's pace early on in the game. There are options in this position. You know, you could go short castle, maybe you could push the H-pawn, maybe you could get your queen out and then think about going E4. But whatever you decide, play it fast. This is not the moment you go down by 2 minutes on the clock.
I'm looking at this, and honestly, the that are going through my head right now. Again, I'm so afraid for Firouzja here, based on what we have
Bro,
seen
we
so
should- we
far
should-
this entire grand.
Yeah, I think we should end this game. I think we should end this show. Alireza Firouzja is pissing me off. Bro, if I get to Alireza right now, I'm going to smash him. Bro, what is wrong with you? Make a move. Make a move. Your time is running pretty fast. What are you doing? Just make a move. You're down to 6 minutes already. Magnus Carlsen still having 9 minutes? What?
Other plans in mind?
Yeah,
Bit of a
come
mysterious
on.
one, and look at this. Magnus is the one gaining space this time, kicking away the white knight in order to win a pawn. Magnus is taking in the center. D5 is about to drop.
That's a little bit mysterious, given that was a minute and a half. Magnus, like, hang on a second. We're just going, let's grab a 2-mover.
This is not a blunder by Firouzja. This is what he wants. He's trying to create an imbalance where he trades off the bishop. Magnus's g5 pawn will become a target. He finds a nice spot for his knight to jump into. The bishop on g2, pinning that black knight on d5. Yes,
Okay.
I see the evaluation bar. It says it's horrible for black, but for white even. But practically here for Alireza, I think this is the kind of position he's aiming for. I don't think he missed g5.
But a postscript to that, Tanya. When Magnus has 9 minutes to figure out how to get out of this, that's really different to when they have 2 minutes or less. And I'm really worried that Magnus will find a way just because it's so early in the game and he has so much time left.
That's the big point here, right? You flip the script on that clock. Magnus down to 6.5, Alireza at 8.5, and you'd be saying this is great. But look at that. He's still going aggressive. He is going for the attack now, trying to open up the H line. Access denied.
Cool. So what we're saying here is ignore the evaluation bar for now. It's very much a strategic pawn sacrifice to see if we can wrangle something out of the middle game.
I think in the back of his mind, Alireza, maybe even at the front of his mind, he knows that this is not sound. It's what we call a dubious.
I think the only person that can match up to Magnus Carlsen at this level is just Hikaru. I don't know what Alireza is doing. Like we were already happy celebrating Alireza on the first one, and come on, yeah, he's at bit rate now. I can only imagine if he's close to 150 or plus. Alireza, come on, please. You are down to 5 minutes. Your opponent is still on 8 minutes and some seconds. You don't even care.
You know, G4 just making sure that no open lines, open diagonals, weaknesses are given, and just keeping everything under control. Not a single pawn trade, which means not a single file allowed for the rook into an attack.
Look at the
Can you
body
just
language.
castle your
Look at the
king,
facial.
Alireza?
Look at
Even
the
if you don't
clock.
have a move,
I
just
feel like
castle your
G4
king.
here at the end of this continuation might be what for.
Possible.
Or at least underestimated. Maybe he just assumed he could blow open the king side there, go for the black king.
Yeah, because if the rook was still on a8, for example, a knight jumping into f4 creates all sorts of fun problems. You can see that with one more tempo, white creates all sorts of issues for black. But will that ever come?
Because Magnus is one move away from creating issues of his own, right? Knight coming on to c3, the central pawn, he's up one, start moving up the board, kicking out Firouja's pieces, that knight on c4,
Right.
and it might be Alireza on the defense and down a pawn.
Coming, the black knight forced into the square it wanted to use anyway. A very committal decision from Firouja, but there we go. It's that knight f4 move you mentioned. The knight is coming towards the black king, maybe threatening a check on h5. Can Magnus deal with that? Gonna brace for impact somehow. At least creating something for Firouja. I like this last move, this last idea from him.
I do, and I think the evaluation bar in this position is a little deceptive. From a practical perspective, you're black, your pawn on g4, king out at g7. You know, the white knight about to swoop to h5, jump over, and then the queen coming to that h6 square. It can start feeling scary,
Just
but
get your
Magnus
king.
completely ignores it. He literally doesn't care.
It's really quite worrying. You've played the knight h5 check. You're going, hang on a second. Where are the entry squares for the queen? Could the king even come up to g6 to prevent the queen from coming up? And who wants to play that kind of move in that sort of uncomfortable position? Definitely far from over this, and the eval bar does not tell even a quarter of the story here. The degree of discomfort in the black camp right now is immense.
In the time, Firouja continues to bank. To get his rooks into the action. Without the rooks, you might not attack. White's bishop is never really joining in, blocked by its own pawn, and Magnus has a total clamp over the dark squares. So strategically, black is just winning. Pawn up and the bind. Firouja needs to deliver checkmate if he's going to save this game.
What's the wild idea then? Like, are we talking like queen up to d3, king d2 to bring the other rook across? Like, what's the wild, weird anti-positional idea that actually gives us a reasonable chance here?
The $250,000 question, right?
Well, yeah.
1,000 point question. And right now, the white knight jumping into the center. I still feel Firouja's king is going to castle on the king side. Maybe he'll push the f-pawn to open up lines for the rook a bit later on. Still takes a while. In the meantime, Magnus has a few moves. Will he develop black's bishop? It's not clear what Magnus is doing next. He's prevented any pawn pushes, Firouja, where Magnus reduced to piece play. Not bring out the black queen either.
And I like this move by Alireza because it stops Magnus from getting his knight to the center of the board. Knight d4, not allowed anymore. Knight takes knight would win a pawn. And also, if you trade on Alireza's terms by capturing the knight on d5, I think he intends to capture with the pawn, opening up that e line to eventually get his rook into the game. So Magnus just keeping the tension there, pushes that e pawn.
For me, I think it's over. It's over for Alireza Firouja. Not that Alireza is not playing very well. He's playing very well. It's just that Magnus is just being Magnus here. Like he's just going to crush Alireza. Even this one, I guess Alireza at some point will have to resign this game because, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing with this kind of position, bro? What are you? Yeah, knight takes knight. And then the other knight jumping, right? What do you take with the queen? No. Okay. Yeah, Alireza doesn't stand a chance in this game. He just needs to resign. Bro, just castle and just And just allow Fitz to take his place. You're losing, bro. That pawn is going to fall. The rook is under attack. Now the bishop. That pawn is falling. It's over, bro. GG. GG to Alireza. GG. Yeah, nice day, nice game. Yeah, you've done well to come to the final, but it's over with Magnus Carlsen. Just let go. Rook takes, and pawn can even get plugged. Yeah. Tell about the threat and strategy of Magnus, maybe. Yeah, I think what
H5 would then leave a weak.
I think what Magnus Carlsen is trying to do is just trying to win the H. What did he call it? Yeah, I think he's trying to win a pawn on the A file. Like once he got the pawn on the A file, it's just all right. Now he trades rook takes, queen takes, and knight takes pawn. I think Alireza should take this
moment
pawn.
for Firouzja. At least he needs to just be taking on G4 immediately. Why else would you put your queen on D1? Is he pausing? Take that pawn off the board.
Just
Suddenly
take the
white has
pawn on the
access to
board.
some
That's
squares.
all you have.
There we
Just
go.
take the pawn.
The one pawn advantage still for Magnus Carlsen, but suddenly you could imagine the Black King coming under some fire.
At this 2 minutes 30 plays 5 has been exceptional throughout the entirety of the Esports World Cup, but you cannot be consistently playing against the best player in the world so far down on the clock. He recognizes this, of course. He would be a fool not to, but he has to do even more. He has to really dig deep now to try and come out on top.
All right, but we're going to see some forcing moves. So hopefully he will play faster. And look at that. Magnus plays an unexpected move. And Firouzja ready with his response. Comes back with the knight. Bishop takes pawn. Hits that rook. Will we see some simplification? Magnus Carlsen would be very happy with that. That knight on d4, far better than Firouzja's bishop on g2. If knight takes bishop, queen takes knight was to happen.
Bright side, the white queen can at least finally get active. There is one check available for Firouzja. Still need to follow up. It's not going to be easy, but one active piece, then you can evacuate the white rook, get it out the way. This is, again, the best position he's had in a while.
Yeah, he should give check then.
Just not trusting his instincts. Right, there we go. Check. It is a check. The Black King runs. Rook does move. Magnus still has some work to do. It's all about the black A pawn, whether that's going to be quick enough to run down the board, or if Firouzja is able to create counterplay in time.
Still up a pawn. I love where he's placed his bishop. Magnus Carlsen has, taking away all the jumping squares from that white knight. Firouzja now threatening a checkmate in one. Watch out, move that rook away or defend it. He moves it to the 7th rank, making sure that h7 also remains protected.
White bishop is so ineffective. Just watching the action happen. There we go. It does retreat in the end, aiming to reposition it. I'm not sure exactly where. Maybe just on d3 as a defender. But Magnus getting closer and closer with his queenside play.
So many problems to solve. I was even thinking about what would happen if white had to play king h2, with the idea of bringing the bishop up to h3 to, you know, trade a bad piece for a good one. But you can't do that because of knight f3 check. It's so frustrating to try and unbind yourself from this position.
The queen on h6 stuck. The knight on e3 can't move forward. The bishop on f1, hard to imagine an active square here. Yes, you can go up the board, but no diagonals to cover there. The rook on a1 stopping the a pawn from moving forward. Looks like paralysis for the white pieces in this position. Magnus makes an inaccuracy, but I think you take that, chuck it out the window. It's just a move, passing the ball to Firouzja, knowing that he's reaching the 1 minute mark.
Unless we see a massive swing in eval, let's ignore those board annotations for now. That question mark, definitely because Magnus is playing quick moves for now. Good enough moves. We would call them the 80% type of moves where it might not be the best, but it's good enough not to change the eval at all. And he's only going to wait until Firouzja's down to that 30-second mark again for changing the pace. Black rook retreating again, not creating any damage. He's just passing the ball back to Firouzja, and the red appears. It's bullet time.
It's bullet time, and Magnus has an idea. That rook could transfer itself to that left flank behind the A pawn and start pushing it, which is why Firouzja was forced to bring back the queen, attacking that F6 pawn. Magnus does not repeat this. He's not going to bring his rook back. Whoa, he's sacrificing the F6 pawn.
Suppose he can get the queens off the board. Next move, Magnus Carlsen, he's going to swing the black queen across to G7 in front of his own king. He's going to go for the trade. And Firouzja, if the queens disappear, it's all about the black A pawn. 40 seconds, though. He needs to decide. Queen's off the board or on the board. Just make a move.
But how do you decide? Both are equally bad. Also, you've got no time. Alireza Firouzja frozen with no good options on the board. He jumps in with a knight. Magnus, he can trade. And look at Alireza. It's almost like he's giving up.
So frustrated. I've never seen him look this helpless. Alireza on the camera. He can give a check with his bishop. He drops his queen and he drops his queen. Alireza Firouzja. It's a simple knight fork to end that game. The writing was on the wall anyway, but Magnus Carlsen takes the win. He's so close now.
A blunder ends game number 3, but not for the first time in this match. 4 minutes versus 1 minute. The clock tells all. Time trouble seems to be reigning supreme in this grand final. Magnus Carlsen is now potentially a game away from winning the grand finals.
Blunders do not appear out of a vacuum in chess. This is a result of Magnus's consistent pressure on the board in every single move, pretty much from the start.
I told you guys it is over. There's nothing for us to do here. We are just here to watch Alireza getting destroyed by Magnus. I mean, yeah, it's time to cry for Ali. Oh, come on, Alireza. Sorry, bro. Sorry, you're like, yeah, all right. You came up to this in like, come on. Sorry, Alireza. Sorry, Alireza. Sorry, bro. Yeah, it's disappointment for us today. Alireza has given us full disappointment. What a way to end the show. Oh, Alireza. Come on, Alireza. Come on, Ali. Oh, come on, Alireza, bro. Come on. Oh no. Come on. It's over.
The bow, game number 4. This might be the end of the road for Team Falcons here at chess at the Esports World Cup. Firouzja needs to win on command with the black pieces in order for this set to go to Armageddon. Very possible, but let's see how this pans out.
Magnus Carlsen, whenever he's happy with a draw with white, he opens with his king's pawn. It's just a fact. He knows his openings. It's so difficult to create winning chances with black. He tries the Sicilian Alireza Firouzja. He's met with the Alapin, the C3 Sicilian. This is something Magnus has used on multiple occasions, including in the World Cup final against Prague, when he just needed a draw with white. Firouzja, he needs something special now.
And David, I know that the Alapin Sicilian is also one of your pet openings, something that you've employed so many times. Magnus Carlsen does it every time that he needs to shut down the game. Where do you think approaching this as blacks, as with the black pieces, will Alireza find his chances? What are the plans that he needs to put into place here?
I think steering away from some of the main lines is the key. There are a lot of forcing lines in this opening. That's why Magnus has gone for it. There's a lot of opening theory that leads to sterile equality, where you don't really get out into this game. You don't really maintain any winning chances. I was going to say, play something offbeat. Pawn to b6. We see the eval bar rise. That is very offbeat. Doesn't fight for the center, but I totally understand the reasoning for it.
I was going to ask you, when you would play the Alapin, was there a move by black that you feared that perhaps Alireza could try?
Pawn to d6 is the best move, but in terms of winning with black, I'm not so sure. Equalizing is normally the goal in chess with black, but not enough this time. b6, he just wants to fianchetto his bishop. Magnus might be forced to attack if Firouzja doesn't play in the center. Magnus is going to go on the front foot, but maybe that's not what he wants to do.
And for white, one of the very key ideas is to go d4 in these positions. You want to get that center control, get the bishop out to c4, try attacking the knight as well. But Magnus, he takes a pause, so definitely b6, a surprise.
Oh, Magnus Carlsen down on the clock. Okay, not by much, but it's so rare in this grand final. We might as well mention it when it happens. Alireza Firouzja, though, not looking just for an equal position. We need to win, remember. Pawn takes pawn in the center of the board. Firouzja looking like he wants to hopefully start building a little bit of clock advantage. Recaptures with the knight. And finally, Firouzja goes down to below 9 minutes. Still very, very early on.
Still just styling. Neither side has studied before, we can guarantee that. Knight takes pawn on d4. Normally you want a queen there, but Magnus senses the white knight will be very active in this scenario, and Firouzja needs to just trust himself. Make moves at this point. Bishop comes out quickly. I like the way he's handled this opening, I've got to say. Alireza, he'll get it some chances at some point. Black knight kicked back meanwhile. The game goes on.
It does go on, and this rivalry goes on. You know, I'm thinking right now of back in 2021 when Magnus Carlsen shocked the world.